So back in 2024, OpenAI's CEO, Sam Altman, placed this bet with a group of tech executives.
Right, the one about the billion-dollar company.
Exactly. He wagered that artificial intelligence would soon create the world's first one-person billion-dollar company. And, well, he recently admitted he actually lost that bet.
Which is wild because he lost it because it already happened.
Yeah, much faster than even he anticipated. And the crazy thing is, the person who pulled it off, he wasn't sitting in some massive corporate headquarters. He was literally just working from his living room in Los Angeles.
It is a milestone that completely redefines what scale means in the modern economy. I mean, for decades, if you wanted to build a company with a billion-dollar valuation, you were inherently tethered to human capital.
Right, you needed people.
You needed a sprawling campus, human resources departments, layers of middle management, dedicated teams just to handle logistics. Growth essentially meant adding physical mass.
But today, we have the ultimate, concrete proof that the skyscraper era of the billion-dollar company might actually be over. So in this deep dive into the source material, our mission is to unpack the exact mechanics of a health tech startup called Medvi.
Yeah, Medvi.
It's run by this 41-year-old guy named Matthew Gallagher, and it is currently on track to hit $1.8 billion in sales.
With a team that, I mean, for all intents and purposes, basically consists of two people.
Two people. So we are going to break down the specific $20,000 tech stack he used to do this. We'll look at the genuinely stressful and honestly sometimes hilarious mistakes his autonomous agents made along the way.
Oh, there are plenty of mistakes.
For sure. And most importantly, we are going to explore what this means for your own relationship with productivity. Because understanding how Medvi operates is basically looking at the blueprint for the next decade of business.
Yeah. It is a phenomenal case study because Gallagher didn't invent a new artificial intelligence model here. He just recognized how to apply existing tools to fundamentally break the traditional rules of operational overhead.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we get into the actual mechanics of a billion-dollar run rate, we kind of have to understand the mind of the founder.
Right. His background is super important.
Yeah, Matthew Gallagher has this incredibly itinerant background. He lived in motels and cars as a kid until his family finally settled down when he was 12.
And that happens to be the exact year his uncle gave him a laptop.
Exactly.
That introduction to computing is basically a classic catalyst for a serial entrepreneur. But it's what he does with it that sets the pattern for his future. Like, he teaches himself to code just so he can build a Weird Al Yankovic fan page.
Which is amazing.
It is. And by the time he's a teenager, he's selling candles and samurai swords on eBay. He builds a web hosting business and flips it for $6,000 when he's 18. I mean, He is fundamentally a tinkerer, always looking for leverage.
But the real context for Medvi's explosive growth is actually a previous frustration of his. So in 2016, Gallagher built a wristwatch subscription company called WatchGang.
Right, WatchGang.
On paper, it looked like this massive success. He had 60 employees. They were aggressively chasing revenue growth. But despite the scale, the company never actually turned a profit.
Because the overhead simply consumed the growth. Gallagher found himself bogged down by the sheer physical weight of managing humans. Having 60 employees didn't accelerate his decision-making, it paralyzed it.
Yeah. Every pivot required meetings, consensus, managing interpersonal dynamics. The organizational bloat was basically suffocating his ability to innovate quickly.
So fast forward to the public release of ChatGPT, and Gallagher starts tinkering again. By 2024, he launches Medvi in just 2 months, spending exactly $20,000.
Just $20,000.
Yeah, and he uses more than a dozen off-the-shelf AI tools to build it.
I keep picturing this entire operation as a mechanical exoskeleton.
Oh, that's interesting. How do you see that framework applying here?
Well, think of how an exoskeleton works in science fiction. The human is still inside the suit, right? Making all the strategic decisions, deciding to raise an arm, deciding to take a step forward.
Right.
But the AI acts as the hydraulic joints. It amplifies a tiny twitch of a human finger into thousands of pounds of force. So Gallagher writes one text prompt, and the AI hydraulics generate an entire marketing campaign.
I see.
He isn't doing the heavy lifting himself, but he hasn't hired 60 people to do it for him either. He's basically stepped into a digital suit of armor that allows him to punch like a heavyweight corporation.
That analogy perfectly captures the mechanism of action here. He utilized ChatGPT, Claude, and Grok to write the actual Python scripts and the website copy.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he connected those outputs to Midjourney and Runway to generate his visual assets and video ads, and utilized 11 Labs for voice cloning.
But how does that actually connect in reality? I mean, If I open ChatGPT right now and ask it to design a website, I don't suddenly have a functional business.
No, you don't.
So how is he taking these separate siloed tools and weaving them into this billion-dollar suit of armor?
Well, the magic lies in the API integrations, the application programming interfaces. Gallagher essentially used AI to write the connective tissue that allows these different software platforms to talk to each other autonomously.
Okay, so they're talking to each other.
Exactly. For instance, he used Grok to write customized scripts that dictate, hey, when a customer clicks this specific button generated by Claude, automatically trigger this data sequence on the back end.
Got it.
He engineered a digital assembly line where the machines seamlessly pass the work to each other without requiring a human to ever hit enter.
Which brings up a massive physical roadblock in this entire model. Medvi is selling GLP-1 weight loss drugs. For anyone unfamiliar, GLP-1s are highly popular medications that regulate appetite and blood sugar.
Very popular right now.
Yeah, but they are highly regulated physical pharmaceuticals. Software cannot materialize a physical syringe of medicine out of thin air. So how does a web interface actually put a physical regulated product on someone's doorstep?
This is the operational genius of the model. Gallagher is entirely a middleman. Medvi sells these GLP-1 drugs for as little as $179 a month, but Gallagher doesn't own a single pharmacy.
Not one.
Not one. He doesn't employ a single doctor. He tapped into what the industry calls telehealth-in-a-box platforms. Specifically, he built partnerships with two companies, CareValidate and OpenLoop Health.
So what do those specific platforms actually do for him?
They handle the entirety of the physical and regulatory reality. They provide the network of board-certified online doctors who evaluate the patients and legally write the prescriptions.
Yeah.
They connect directly to the compounding pharmacies that actually fulfill the physical orders, and they manage the shipping logistics and the complex regulatory compliance. Gallagher just used his AI tools to build the API bridge between his highly optimized storefront and their massive medical backend.
Here's where it gets really interesting, is I have to push back on this premise just a bit. If he is simply slapping a highly optimized AI-generated marketing veneer on top of a third-party medical network that already exists, is this actually an innovative company? Or is it just a brilliantly timed marketing arbitrage?
What's fascinating here is that the innovation is the arbitrage itself. It's the unprecedented efficiency of the execution. If we look at the traditional competitive landscape, Medvi is going up against established giants in the online pharmacy space.
Right, good companies.
Companies like Hims and Hers Health. Hims went public a few years ago. They generated over $2 billion in revenue last year, but they rely on a massive physical footprint. They have over 2,400 employees.
2,400 people, which means massive payrolls, corporate real estate, benefits, HR departments.
Precisely. And because of that massive overhead, Hims had a net profit margin last year of roughly 5.5%. Now look at Medvi. By relying on an AI exoskeleton and third-party medical networks, Medvi achieved a 16.2% net profit margin. Yeah. On $401 million in sales in their first full year. That translates to around $65 million in pure profit. Gallagher proved that a single person could execute an arbitrage strategy at a scale that historically required a small army, yielding margins that traditional competitors simply cannot match.
The numbers are absolutely staggering. I mean, he had 300 customers the first month, 1,000 the next month. By the end of the first year, 250,000 customers.
It's exponential.
Yeah. The back-end partners, CareValidate and OpenLoop, were literally asking him if he had an army of people hidden somewhere. And he's just sitting in his house in LA going, nope, just me.
But, you know, that velocity comes with severe vulnerabilities. When you remove the human element to maximize speed, you also remove the human judgment that catches critical errors. You can't just set up an automated system and look away.
Oh, man. The glitches were wild. We really have to talk about the AI hallucinations because this is where the reality of the one-person billion-dollar company hits a brick wall.
Oh,
Early on, the website was full of what people call AI slop. Perfectly symmetrical, slightly unnatural smiling models. He was taking before and after weight loss photos from the internet and using AI to swap the faces.
Which he eventually replaced with real customer photos once he had some breathing room.
Right. He even had a fake scrolling ticker implying editorial features in Bloomberg and the New York Times when he had merely purchased basic ad space on their platforms.
Those are marketing embellishments which carry significant reputational risk. But the real structural danger emerged when he deployed autonomous agents to handle live customer interactions.
The lasagna bot.
Yes, the lasagna bot.
He set up an AI customer service chatbot, and during testing, he found out the bot was enthusiastically offering users recipes for baked ziti and lasagna. You go to a telehealth site to buy weight loss medication, and the AI is giving you a step-by-step guide for a 4-cheese pasta bake.
He had to heavily constrain the system prompts to force the AI to stay on task. But even in a live environment, large language models are inherently prone to hallucination.
Wait, let me stop you right there. If he's using a chatbot built on top of a standard language model to run customer service for a medical site, isn't that a massive HIPAA violation or a regulatory nightmare waiting to happen?
That is a huge concern, yes.
Especially since the bot started going rogue after launch. It hallucinated that Medvi sold hair loss drugs, which they didn't at the time. And it started making up fake ultra-low prices for the medication. How did he not get sued into oblivion?
That is a brilliant question, and it highlights the razor's edge he was walking. The chatbot was strictly fenced off from the actual medical evaluations and patient health records.
Oh, okay.
Those were securely handled by OpenLoop and CareValidate's fully compliant systems. The AI was only handling the front-end retail layer, answering frequently asked questions and discussing pricing.
But even then, offering fake prices is a massive liability.
Exactly. Gallagher chose to absorb that risk financially. He actually honored the hallucinated prices when customers demanded them, essentially paying out of pocket to avoid a massive consumer protection backlash.
Wow. But the architecture of his system created an even wilder problem. The system was designed so that if a customer got frustrated with the bot and demanded to speak to a real human, the bot would automatically transfer them.
Right.
But because Gallagher was the only human in the company, the bot routed those calls directly to his personal cell phone. He started receiving over 1,000 customer service calls a day.
It's unbelievable.
Just imagine sitting on your couch trying to fix a line of code, and your phone is exploding with angry people who were just offered cheap drugs by a hallucinating robot.
This perfectly illustrates a vital mental model for you to consider, especially if you are looking to implement AI in your own workflow. Think of it as the automation paradox.
Tell me more about that framework.
The automation paradox dictates that agility inherently creates fragility. When you have a massive corporation with thousands of employees, they move incredibly slowly. That's the agility problem. But those layers of management provide deep redundancy. If one person makes a catastrophic mistake, 3 other people review it before it ever goes live. That is robustness.
Right, a safety net.
Exactly. Gallagher achieved maximum agility. He could pivot his entire company's direction in 10 minutes. But he had 0 redundancy. No safety net. The paradox is that the cheaper it is to scale your operations, the more expensive it is to make an unmonitored mistake.
Which brings us to the exact moment that paradox cost him dearly. Think about your own workflow for a second. If you automate a task, hit run, and then go grab lunch, what happens if the AI hallucinates while you're eating a sandwich?
You're in trouble.
For Gallagher, that vulnerability hit him while he was in the middle of the woods. In March of last year, he decided to change a minor piece of code on the Medvi website. He pushes the update live, and then he goes for a hike in the LA sunshine.
It's just a casual hike.
Yeah. While he's out on the trail, he gets a frantic call from one of his contracted media agencies. They ask, "Hey, is it weird that we haven't seen a single order come through in the last hour?"
A single broken line of code deployed without review.
He realizes his quick update completely broke the checkout process. And because he is the entire IT department, there is literally no one else on Earth who can fix it.
No one.
He has to sprint down the mountain, rush home, and patch the code. He estimates that single hour of downtime lost him around 200 customers.
That's a huge hit.
At $179 a pop, he watched tens of thousands of dollars evaporate because he wanted to go for a walk.
That hike was the definitive breaking point. It proved that the absolute limit of the solo founder model isn't computing power or API calls. It is the physical limitation of a human being's attention span and availability. You simply cannot monitor a high-velocity system 24 hours a day.
So he finally adapts. He realizes he can't be a true solo founder anymore. But he doesn't revert back to the watch gang model of hiring 60 people either.
No, he goes a different route.
He hires exactly one official employee, his 36-year-old brother, Elliot, who lives back in Cincinnati. And Elliot's entire job is to act as a human firewall.
A human firewall.
Yeah, he intercepts, filters, and prioritizes all incoming communications. So Matthew can actually focus on high-level strategy without his phone ringing 1,000 times a day.
He also begins to strategically offload liability to specialists. He stops using generic online legal templates and retains an actual law firm.
Smart move.
Very smart. He transitions from automated accounting tools to a professional accounting firm. He brings on 2 contract engineers. He recognizes that to sustain a billion-dollar run rate, you must outsource risk to specialized humans.
And with that breathing room, the expansion goes absolutely nuclear. He reinvests the profits and launches a men's health vertical. They acquire 50,000 erectile dysfunction drug customers in a single month.
50,000.
Yeah. They roll out a healthy meal delivery service. Next up are women's health products, hormone therapy, skincare. The exoskeleton is fully operational and completely dominating multiple markets.
Yet, amidst all this unprecedented efficiency, we find the deepest irony in the source material. Matthew Gallagher has constructed the ultimate automated, frictionless, human-free money-making machine. And he freely admits, quote, "At this point, I kind of want to hire people because I'm lonely."
I love that detail so much.
Okay.
He solved the ultimate business scaling problem, but he engineered a profound personal isolation problem in the process.
He really did.
He misses the camaraderie. He misses the banter of colleagues.
Furthermore, he realized this isolation was actually reflecting back onto the customer experience. Algorithms are highly efficient at processing transactions, but they are incredibly cold. They don't build brand loyalty.
No, they don't.
So in September, Medvi executed a fascinating pivot. They began assigning actual human account managers to a high-value subset of their customers.
It's a deliberate injection of friction. If a customer texts or calls, they don't get routed to a bot. They get the exact same human being every single time.
The goal is to build genuine rapport.
Exactly. Remembering a client's birthday, asking about how their children are doing. They contracted 7 human account managers specifically to provide this high-touch service.
But consider the underlying mechanics of that shift. Those 7 human account managers are each responsible for hundreds of clients.
Right.
It is cognitively impossible for a human being to naturally remember the personal details, emotional states, and medical histories of hundreds of disparate individuals at once.
So how do they actually simulate that intimacy? They use AI.
Exactly the mechanism we've been discussing. They utilize customized language models integrated deeply into their customer relationship management systems, their CRM. Before a human agent takes a call, the AI synthesizes the client's entire history, flags important personal details, and prompts the agent on what to ask to build rapport.
They're using machines to help them remember how to be human. It's an incredible recursive loop. The AI built the massive scale that necessitated the human touch, and now humans are using AI to deliver that touch at an unnatural scale.
It perfectly encapsulates the paradox of scale in the modern era. The AI got the company off the ground, it handled the brutal mathematics of rapid growth, but sustaining brand loyalty ultimately required genuine human connection.
So what does this all mean? For Gallagher personally, it means a complete transformation. From a kid living in motels, he has generated $70 to $80 million in total profit so far.
Wow.
He says, for the first time, I'm not in survival mode. He set up a $1 million foundation that donates to cat rescues and youth homelessness in Los Angeles, and his long-term goal is to run the majority of Medvi's profits through that foundation.
He is also buying 1700s pocket watches for fun.
Yeah.
Which, considering his previous failure was a wristwatch company, carries a profound poetic justice.
It really does. And to bring this full circle back to the AI exoskeleton concept, he even created an AI voice clone of himself to manage his personal life.
That's right.
He uses his own synthesized voice to call places and schedule personal appointments just to save a few minutes a day. He's effectively automated his own existence.
It is the realization of Sam Altman's prediction, but with a crucial caveat. Historically, capital was the ultimate moat. If you had $20 million, you could hire 100 developers and crush a competitor who only had $20,000.
Totally.
Gallagher proved that $20,000 combined with off-the-shelf AI and a clever API-driven architecture can match the output of a massive legacy corporation. He challenged the skyscraper model from his living room, and he won on pure operational efficiency.
He absolutely leveled the playing field. But that leads to a fascinating problem, doesn't it?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it leaves you with a critical question to mull over. If AI completely democratizes scale, meaning absolutely anyone with a laptop, $20,000, and a bit of hustle, can spin up a flawlessly executed billion-dollar digital infrastructure,
Right.
does operational efficiency stop being a competitive advantage? In a near future where every single company is powered by flawless, instant AI and everyone has zero overhead, what is left to compete on? Will the ultimate luxury and the only real way to win a customer's loyalty be the one thing code can never replicate? Genuine, flawed, human empathy.
It brings us right back to that opening image. Maybe the billion-dollar company of the future isn't a massive skyscraper filled with thousands of people doing robotic tasks. Maybe it's a living room full of robots, managed by a few humans whose only actual job is to care. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We'll see you next time.